I don't mind the electronic IGL angle because you can always change. I'll tell you what, if you brought listen, Hobbit, you better actually be legendary, mate, because otherwise the temptation to just bring in a caller instead of you and then just have in their natural roles Axile, Shiro, Perfecto, and Electronic is like, that's like a minute ago. Why was I wasting my time on that? That is like the Russian version of my HLTV forum. Like, what if this lineup was made? You know, like, and here's the thing, unlike most super teams, they would be in their natural roles. That's the craziest part. Normally a super team doesn't work because you eventually find out you had like 3 people who play like Aeon Mirage or something. It's like, but they're not the ones that play like the different spots. Like we all play this one like ticket or something. It's like, shit, we didn't think that through because you don't think through every map when you recruit the players, obviously. This team could actually just work and the firepower looks actually bonkers on this. Like, if this works, this is insane.
It's actually kind of cursed because it almost feels like Cloud9 looked 2 years into the future when they signed this roster. Like, oh, guys, we're going to sign this team, you know, up-and-comers. They look good. They're going to perform pretty poorly. They're going to get rid of interns. We're going to bring in Buster. And we're going to try and make this work for as long as humanly possible. But then somehow you're going to snag Electronic and Perfecto, you know, 16 months into the journey.
They were just, it's like the NBA teams, they were already like trading players to make the cap room to like get ready for this move. You're right, it hasn't worked out. Then the other detail is this, right? Fresh update for you guys, because this interview came out 6 hours ago. Simple did an interview where, of course, he commented on Cloud9, the team that his ex-teammates have gone to. Because, by the way, Simple's not actually malevolent, guys. He just doesn't have any filter between his brain and his mouth. He just, whatever he's thinking, I'm just saying it now. Like I imagine Simple's the guy where it'd just be like, you are fat. It's like, what the fuck? Like, oh, sorry about that. I mean, excuse me, could I get past you? You know what I mean? Fucking hell, man. He just has no filter. He's not even trying to do it. Like, in this headline is so egregious. Remember, one, the circumstances under which they've let Perfecto, who I'll just say now, hawka, at that role, you might never have another player that good ever in Na'Vi ever again. Like, he was so good at that role. The circumstances you've let them go is obviously awkward and no one's going to address, right? We're just going to pretend they must just go to Cloud9 now. And we must get non-people from their country. We're not even allowed to bring that whole topic up. So there's already an awkwardness where I wouldn't address it if I were you. I'd just sort of be like, wish you well, see you in the next tournament, right? But also on top of that, there's the whole thing where actually the only 3 people in the world who think Nafani was good is Nafani, Youm3, and Simple. Now look, I will say, 1 out of those 3, incredibly sick. Mainly Simple, obviously, been there. Like, the joke there would be if Simple was shit, I could have just said you, couldn't I? But whatever. Sadly, he's not that bad at the moment, right? So obviously, the banter angle is he's actually now defended this in an interview because he's just said this headline. This is unbelievable. He goes, for me, Nafani as IGL would be better. I feel Electronic needs to be a second caller. He'd play better. And it's like, bro, he's only just left. He's gone to his new team before they've even played the game. You're just like, hey, excuse me, this thing on, the greatest player of all time. I don't think that team's going to actually work. Like, the IGLing doesn't really make sense. You know the guy you fired? Yeah, you should have kept him. And you know my mate Electronica I just played with, you know, like we were like a duo, won all the time. Yeah, it's probably not going to work out with him, Cole, actually. So anyway, good luck. I wish you well. Like, bro, like, he's got a fucking game in here. Like, yeah, like, holy moly. Like, listen, I get that he's just being honest, but man alive, like, there's, you know, you didn't sense any awkwardness when he was saying all this stuff out loud. Like, what if he reads that? Like, oh, thanks. Cheers, Sasha. Like, fucking hell.
Yeah.
I love it. I just love it. But here's the thing. There will never be another player like Simple in many ways. Not just in the game, just as an individual as well. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
What a world. What a world.
What a guy.
Thing is, though, low-key, the fanboy in you has to dream that this team works out. Imagine what it would do to CSGO if it did, mate. Oh, that would be amazing.
This Cloud9 roster is just, it's actually, like, when I heard this was what was going to happen, I'm like, there's just surely no way anybody allows this to happen. Like,
exactly.
How did no one try and snipe this as soon as they heard that Electronic and Perfecto were moving on?
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, you know, be a pleb and don't.